Hello and welcome back to Empyrion Galactic Survival. My name is Spanj. Now, there are a number of tools available in creative mode of Empyrion to help you build bigger and better and faster and quicker. And I'm going to take you through some of those today. Now, hopefully most of you are familiar already with the copy and paste feature. If not, there is a video I've done before on how to do it. Today, we're going to cover some of the more advanced features of what we call the N menu, which is kind of like the building debug menu. Hit N on your keyboard and you get this little box appear on the right hand side. Now there's various things in here which can be quite overwhelming and intimidating. I'm going to hopefully take you through some of these today. Now, the ones I'm not going to take you through is symmetry planes because I've got a video on that already. And like I said already, the basic copy and paste function. Now, since the last update of Empyrion, last couple of updates, I should say, they've added even more functionality in here to help builders build quicker and more conveniently. So we're going to go through a couple of them. We're going to hit the selection option here, and this just enables us to basically select a block on the build. Now what I have in front of me is basically a little sort of CV, a capital vessel cargo module that I've set up here with these little pods, and oh, I've got a missing block, look. Please stand by while I correct this heinous crime. Okay. So I've got a little CV cargo module here. So what I want to do is build a big honking cargo ship, basically. So I've got these kind of funky looking cargo pods in different colors to make it look like it's actually, you know, detachable pods. Covered them in some truss blocks. I've made it look reasonably nice. And in the middle, I've got a nice corridor setup going on as well. And then underneath as well, there's another. So there's actually 4 320 KSU container controllers in here. We're in the vanilla game, so we're not messing around with any of the reforged stuff right now. So we've selected a block, and you have to open and close this N menu in order to move your character around and stuff like that. So just kind of make peace with that. Now, with the block selected, you can hit Control A now, and it will select all of the connected blocks to the one that you selected. Notice how the core and this block over here are not selected because they're not actually connected with this mass. So when you are working with, I suppose, interchangeable modules, which is definitely the direction that like builds are going in, then you need to make sure that blocks are separated from where you want your selections to be, what you want to be selecting, copying, pasting, or whatever. Now with that selected, we can save that to the list, right? So we can say, this isn't new, by the way, this is just something you can do. So we can say cargo module. Okay, and we select OK, that's down there now. If we make another selection and copy something else later on, we can always just come back and double click this and we get this copy again. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hit copy. Now I would say, just before you do this, do make sure that your module or whatever is completely symmetrical end to end where you're connecting it from point A to point B. If one end is different from the other end, it does some weird rotating. I don't know what it is, I can't describe it. But if we just go ahead and hit this little part of the widget here, you'll notice it copies it once, and I hit it again and it copies it twice. You hit it again and it will copy the entire selection again, and so you can very quickly get something ridiculously huge. You can't drag this or tailor how many times it replicates it. It just basically, you click it and it like doubles it and then doubles it again and then doubles it again. But don't worry, if you do it too many times, you just hit undo here and you can backtrack some modules so that you're sort of not going absolutely crazy. You can then, of course, just go ahead and double click your saved selection, move it along to the end here, and then do it again, and it'll only go back to 1 or 2. So if you don't want it going absolutely ballistic, you basically just have to kind of reset it again. Now, the thing with this particular widget is it permanently pastes it straight away. Okay, so make peace with this undo button because it does seem to be rather insane. It, like I said, it also does some weird flippy dippy stuff that doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But there we go. We now have an insanely big cargo module. Now, of course, we need to build a back and a front to this thing, and we'd have some hefty ass cargo ship with a ridiculous number of containers, which will be fun to move and power and stuff like that. But the fun point is, I've just built, you know, the main section of this ship instantly. You can obviously do this with much smaller selections. Say if I wanted to just copy and paste, you know, a certain couple of deco blocks or some greebling that I've created, then you can absolutely do the same thing. Save to list, and then use this in order to essentially copy and paste it across multiple times very, very, very quickly. So there we go. That's copy and paste, coupled with what we knew about the copy and paste system itself and the show BP parts down here. And now another feature that you may not know about is the lock texturing feature. So when we place a new block down, we get the default texturing here, as you can see. But say we know that we're going to be placing a lot of blocks down that all require the same texture that we've already used. Well, that's fine. Just point the cursor at the texture block that you want to copy and hit the lock key, and then when you place that block down, it'll lock that block to the texture that you were pointing at. And as you can see, it does texture the whole block like that, which can be problematic. But you can do it with any particular block. So just unlock and then relock on that texture. Hello, managed to use the selection tool accidentally. And there we go. We can do that one as well. So just a quick save time on perhaps texturing. If you want to undo it, then just remove the lock key in the end menu there, and there it goes back to normal again. So that, if you do in large sections with the same texture, that can save you a bit of time in texturing. Now, a number of us are familiar with the concept of phantom blocks. There should be, I should be able to place a block there, but as you can see, the block is kind of dancing around that area and not letting me place a block. Even if I use the page down feature, we can see, yeah, that block there is blocked by something, but there's nothing there, nothing that we can see, at least. Anyway, one of the ways to get rid of this is to use the selection tool. Just again, select a block next to it, move the selection tool into the block area. Now there are two options here. You can use the delete function to try and delete the phantom block. In this case, that's worked. But the other option is to use the fill selection option, and this overwrites any block that's in there. You can then remove the visible block as normal. Make sure that you've got selected the block you want to fill the area with, such as just a normal carbon substrate block here, or carbon composite, sorry, and then hit fill, and it will fill the selection with the block you've selected. You can then remove it using shift right click as normal, and away it goes. You can also use this fill function to fill huge area with blocks. Say if you've built a very large ship and you have a large area to just fill up with blocks in order to reduce its size class perhaps, so it's not rendering so much, you can do that as well. So here we're going to just select this huge section underneath my ship here so that the blue box comes down like that. So we have this entire corridor selected there, and then we can say fill, and there we go. It is now filled completely. Difficult to actually see, but trust me, it's filled completely now with that block. And of course, I don't really want to actually do that, so I'm just going to hit undo, and away it goes. Remove selection and take that away. But yeah, the fill tool, guys, quite useful dealing with phantom blocks or just filling in huge spaces really, really quickly. Now then, let's say that you finished building a ship and you're testing it for airtightness to make sure the oxygen runs through the ship. You've activated oxygen here and you've made sure that you've got a full O2 tank, yet for some reason there's no oxygen coming into this hangar bay. Let's have a look at show oxygen. Yep, sure enough, there's no oxygen here. However, the game now gives you this handy little indicator, like a little trail of breadcrumbs in red O2 diamonds, as you can see here, that will lead you directly to the problem. And we can see here that it leads us to the constructor, and then a hole underneath the constructor here that leads out into open space. And that is our breach. We're missing a few blocks and a thruster here. Nice simple fix. Bang bang, seal that up, and lo and behold, our hangar bay fills with little blue oxygen diamonds again. This show oxygen thing is far more effective than the show airtight blocks, which is, as you can see, you have to kind of like get very close. The problem with this as well is that when you're trying to figure out below a non-airtight block, say like the constructor here, what blocks aren't airtight underneath it, it's very difficult to see, as you can see, once you actually start ghosting into the blocks like that. So I generally resort to show oxygen. It leads you straight to the leaks. It'll do more than one. Yeah, as you just saw, it's very easy to use. Last thing I'm going to show you today, guys, is actually in the color and texture tool rather than the end menu over here. And that is the second color palette that comes by default. Normally you can customize any color on the palette here just by clicking configure. You then have various RGB sliders along with vibrance and saturation and hue and stuff like that you can customize the colors. Once you have colors on your ship as well, it will actually edit them, as you can see there, in real time. So if you want a really vibrant yellow, or maybe just a little bit of a dull yellow, for example, here, just slide that vibrancy slider up. You want to make it slightly less yellow. Again, saturation. So you got all these tools available to you. However, if you hit preset down here and then select default number 2, followed by set, you have a whole range of pastel-like type colors available to you by default. So these can really open up the door for some nice looking ships, and you don't have to configure them. Well, you still can, I should say. You still can configure them like normal, but they're just like a nicer selection of colors, basically. And just quickly, if you wanted to replace a texture and a color with another one across the board, let's pick on this one, for example. Let's say replace with this texture and this green. We'll hit the replace function, aim it at the thing we want to replace, and it won't do it because I've selected a container extension. Try that again, shall we? There we go. Jump. And it will replace the entire selection with that. Just be careful with this, because if you fire this at something that is perhaps quite prevalent through the ship, then it will replace the whole lot. You want to make sure that you have both texture and the color selected, so that you're only replacing the texture and the color. If you do just the texture or just the color, then anything, say if I take the color off of this and change it to that, it will change all of those under that previous texture to that one. Now, if I replace this without selecting the color, I will change every single one of these blocks because they share this same texture. So just be careful with it, and make sure that you select color and the texture that you want to change it to, and it will only change that one. If that makes sense. And there we go. My little blocks down there are still the same. Don't forget as well, if you do accidentally change a load of stuff, you always hit undo, and it will undo texturing and paint changes as well. Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all I'm going to show you today in today's building guide tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. As always, any questions that you may have, do leave them down in the comments down below. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. And any other tips and stuff that you found out from painting, texturing, the end menu, building tools, feel free to share them down below. It's always great to hear from you guys and read through your comments. But thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.